joined on the line by Paul Scheer to look ahead to the upcoming season premiere of Black Monday on Sky Atlantic, which is premiering on May the 29th. And I suppose, Paul, first of all, Black Monday, it features on a sort of a time in the 80s where ambitious people sort of capitalised on other people's misfortunes.
Yeah, and they did a lot of cocaine as well. And this is a time of total debauchery. People who lived like rock stars, but they were just businessmen. So we have a lot of fun and kind of enjoying like that kind of world of people just, driving crazy cars and having robot butlers and doing lots of drugs.
And I suppose one thing that has been said about Black Monday, it takes the bit of seriousness side, but it also has the comedy and humour that is evident from the very first 2 minutes of the show right until the very end of each episode. It's filled with snazzy sort of one-liners, and the script writing, great credit must go to the script and the script that's produced for each character.
Oh, thanks so much. Yeah, I think what we really wanted to do was create a show that had all the elements that you love about like a serialized drama, where you feel like there are stakes and there are consequences and there's a real story. But we also wanted to make it as incredibly funny as we could possibly make it. So, yeah, it has the jokes of a comedy and the drama of a drama. I mean, it's we really tried to do something there and really kind of make sure that every character pops. And throughout the whole season, you'll see people pop up like Melissa Rauch from Big Bang Theory, and you'll see just a bunch of really fun people doing great stuff. Ken Marino playing dual roles as the Lehman Brothers, who are the heads of this trading commission here in New York.
And Paul, tell me, how did the opportunity come about for you to get cast in the role as Keith Shankar in Black Monday? How did the opportunity come around in the first place?
Yeah, I worked with the two creators of the show, David Cass and Jordan Cahan. We worked together on a show called Happy Endings, and we also worked together on a show called Marry Me. And we've been talking for a while about finding something to work on together, because I had been doing another show called The League, and then and my schedule kind of opened up, and they said, hey, look, we have this part that we can be right for. The part originally was written for a 60-year-old man.
Okay.
And they said, but we think you could actually do this. And I kind of came in that way, and then I met Don Cheadle, who was the star of the show, and sat down with Don, and he's one of the best, just an amazing actor. He's been in so many things, most notably, Avengers and Iron Man and things like that. He's great in the part. I don't think you've ever kind of seen Don like this before. So we had a good meeting and got the part.
And I suppose as well, Paul, in relation, can you tell me a bit about the production week on set of Black Monday, from the time you came in to do the first table read for each episode to the block shooting and where the location, where the filming and location, and how long did it take to produce, say, one episode?
Well, basically, we would shoot 2 episodes in 10 days, so 5 days per episode, and we would block shoot them. So that means that we would take the scripts of 2 episodes and mix and match. So if we were in someone's apartment, we would shoot all the scenes in that person's apartment on the same day, and we'd use the same director for 2 episodes. So the show shot pretty quickly. We have 10 episodes, so it shot for, basically 10 weeks. And it was a blast to kind of work on the show, because it was constantly evolving and changing. When I came onto the show, my character had a totally different kind of turn. And we, through being on set with David and Jordan, we were able to kind of morph things differently. So we did a lot of that, like kind of, figuring out these characters on the set. Like a lot of the times in the first season of the show, once a performer kind of gets into the character, you start to see like, oh, we should do more of this or less of that, and we really start to, find these different things. So it was a very collaborative experience, and we shot it actually all in L.A., which is surprising for a show to take place in New York City. But we realized that New York City looks so clean and nice now that it's better to shoot in downtown L.A. that looks a little bit more like old school New York.
And I suppose you mentioned Don Cheadle there, and it's very important to note Don's sort of roles in the past, more serious, more silent, really shows his prowess as an actor. But this is the first time really that Don has been able to show off that comedy side to his character, and he really enthralls himself in this sort of comedy sort of role. And it sort of springs to mind you're watching Eddie Murphy almost.
Don is a really versatile actor, and I think he approaches comedy the way he approaches drama. So you get to see him ground his characters in a way that you're not quite used to in a comedy. I think he kind of brought us all to that level. I think all of our characters feel pretty grounded, but this, when you look at him in this thing, he's wearing a wig, he's got this mustache, he looks unrecognizable, and he really is doing like a full performance, a very different role for him, and it's really, really funny, super aggressive, and it's continually surprising. But then he also brings the goods. There's an episode later on in the season with a flashback episode when he was a young man, and it's this great kind of episode about seeing this guy come up with with the Black Panthers and how his life kind of got turned upside down because of that.
And I suppose one thing about cast is that sort of the chemistry on set between two sort of predominant characters, and it sort of that energy feeds off into all the rest of the cast members. And Andrew Rannells and the Don Cheadle relationship in relation to Black Monday and their characters, it's almost sort of a Jekyll and Hyde sort of effect. They sort of feed off each other and bring the best out of both each other. And really, Don Cheadle has really brought the best out of Andrew Rannells in this sitcom as well.
Yeah, well, look, I think we all came into the show, knowing that, Don is at the front of it. He's the lead of the show, and everyone kind of brings their A game. I mean, Regina Hall is also in the show, just fantastic.
Yeah.
And Don and Andrew have this interesting relationship because in the show, Don is tricking Andrew throughout the entire season. Like, he has this whole plan that Andrew's kind of falling into, and as Andrew is they're trying to play each other, and I think that's the real fun thing about the show. You never really know who has the upper hand, and it keeps on switching. So I think as actors, that's a really fun thing to play because you don't have to be stuck in one role, like one status role. You can kind of switch it, and I think it puts them both in a position to kind of be on the defense. For me on the show, it was great to my character Keith leads a few multiple lives, and in the show I think is really good at allowing each actor to show many different sides of their characters. The show's not very stereotypical, so you get to see every one of us in very different ways, and that's a rarity for a comedy show.
And I suppose the sort of main set, that sort of office, sort of Wall Street, sort of that's built up there where we see most of the predominant sort of action, is that a fairly sort of a big sort of unit that you're operating off, or what does that sort of entail? Because looking at it, it looks very impressive.
Yeah, it's look, I think we tried very hard to keep truthfulness in the way everything looked and the way that we could actually do things that are real, So, I mean, the sets and everything were designed by the same people who did Mad Men. So it has that look and feel, a real feel. It's nothing there exists outside of it. And as far as the stories that we're telling, we are basing them on real-life stories. We all did our research. David, who created the show, his dad was a trader in Chicago and brought a lot of that experience and a lot of those stories into the show. So we really wanted to make sure that anything that our characters did in the show could actually be done. And the same thing for the sets. Everything in the sets and everything in those worlds, we really wanted to keep period specific.
Yeah, and I suppose, Paul, you mentioned there in relation to the Wall Street crash, the Wall Street Black Monday in Wall Street happening in the 80s. And is it sort of, as the seasons go on, you need that creativity to sort of expand sort of storylines and backstories around certain characters? I know the Wall Street has to be the primary focus, but if you sort of focus on that too much, probably the material runs out as well.
Well, yeah, so at the end of this first season, the crash will have happened. So when you finish this season, you will see how it all ends. And season 2, which we're in the middle of starting to work on right now, is going to take the show in a completely different direction.
Okay.
So the first season is just about the stock market crash. The second season is going to be about more things that are kind of iconic that happened in the 80s. And it's going to definitely be more on a personal level, not necessarily a big event. We're going to continue to see these characters, see how because the season ends on a very big kind of cliffhanger. So to kind of get these characters back together is going to be a real trick. But yeah, it's exciting. We're basically letting the characters lead the show and not just an event. We're not going to find another crash, for season 2.
And I suppose, aside from the great success of Black Monday, what other future projects endeavours are we going to see in relation to you, Paul Scheer, coming on our screens in 2019 or the near future?
I actually, I don't know if this movie has come out yet around where you guys are, but I am in this movie Long Shot with Seth Rogen and Charlize Theron.
Oh, yes, Long Shot, yes.
The Secretary of State, yes.
Okay.
So doing that. I have 2 other films coming out, and hopefully soon one with Joel McHale from Community,
okay.
Kind of a David Lynchian film, which I'm excited about. And then I did a movie with Reggie Hudlin, who was actually one of the directors of Black Monday, and it's a period piece about the Civil War and about one of the most famous slaves who escaped their owners and went on this kind of massive run, and it's kind of like The Fugitive in a way. And it's really action-packed, but really great kind of a script. And then weekly, you could just hear me on my own podcast. I do a podcast about good movies called Unspooled, and I do a podcast about bad movies called How Did This Get Made? And it's fun to kind of just break down all those movies.
I suppose, Paul Scheer, for the last 30 seconds now of the interview, we'll turn it over to your character, Keith Shankar, and he might enlighten all our audience and all our listeners why they should tune in on May the 29th on Sky Atlantic, channel Sky Atlantic here in Ireland and the UK, and what Black Monday has in store for them. Over to you, Keith Shankar.
Oh, well, can you believe me? I mean, I'm nervous that I have to keep Shankar would definitely curse, but I won't curse for this. I will say, all right, listen up, you dumb dildos. If you want to watch the best show on TV, you turn it to Sky Atlantic. The show is going to knock your socks off. Take off your shoes unless you want to wreck your shoes, because this show is next level. Now, let me do the final coke.
On that note, Keith Shankar, we'll leave it there. Thanks a million for taking the call this evening to talk about the upcoming premiere of Black Monday on Sky Atlantic. We're also very delighted to hear the upcoming Season 2 premiere as well. That'll obviously hit our screens next year, maybe earlier next year, and it's great to see that you're working on that.
Yeah.
And Paul, we wish you all the best in your future endeavours as well. Take care.
Thank you so much for taking the time. I appreciate it, and have a great day.
Cheers. Thank you, Paul.